Donald Trump wrapped up the Republican National Convention today with a tour de force at the White House. It went for more than an hour, and it would have put the fear of God into the Democrats. It certainly rattled Joe Biden's basement, inspired Trump's supporters, and trolled his opponents. And the ugliness of the responses to the president demonstrate his effectiveness. They amplify his messages and they increase his chances of constructing an underdog victory. For instance, have a look at these protesters outside the White House, who not only constructed a guillotine in the street, but they pretend to behead an effigy of the president, thereby acting out the Republican script, which warns of revolutionary violence on the streets if Joe Biden wins. This, as I mentioned earlier this week, has been the clever strategy of the convention. Trump's trolling his opponents, drawing out their own weaknesses. Whatever will annoy them most, he has orchestrated, and they've shown their true colours. Even having his daughter introduce him would have riled them.
I recognise that my dad's communication style is not to everyone's taste, and I know that his tweets can feel a bit unfiltered. But the results speak for themselves.
The left, the Democrats and the media criticised him for holding the event at the White House. Yet they shared a social media meme using Melania Trump's dress as a billboard for the latest coronavirus toll. Trump's words, his actions in pushing law and order, pardoning a reformed African-American prisoner, honouring a wrongly imprisoned African-American woman he freed, boasting about his pre-pandemic jobs record, spruiking his response to the virus, everything Trump has said and done this week has triggered his opponents. And this has incited vicious responses that betray their hatred, betray their disdain for people who don't agree with them, and probably creates anxiety among undecided voters. If the Democrats and their supporters are this vicious, lawless and anti-democratic after losing the last election, what would they do in government?
Make no mistake, if you give power to Joe Biden, the radical left will defund police departments all across America. They will pass federal legislation to reduce law enforcement nationwide. They will make every city look like Democrat-run Portland, Oregon. No one will be safe in Biden's America. My administration will always stand with the men and women of law enforcement.
This is a powerful theme for Trump, and it's certainly registered in the basement, with Biden tweeting that all the violence Trump referred to happened on his watch, under his leadership, during his presidency. Trump presides over a nation facing drastic health and economic challenges, not to mention civil strife, rioting and racial divides. But Trump is saying you cannot give in to the mob. And he's saying the intimidation across a range of issues has Americans fearful about what they can think and say.
Americans are exhausted trying to keep up with the latest lists of approved words and phrases and the ever more restrictive political decrees. Many things have a different name now, and the rules are constantly changing. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired, expelled, shamed, humiliated, and driven from society as we know it.
Still, the president's Trump card has been taken away by the pandemic. His economic rejuvenation has been undone. And now on jobs and growth, a president looking for re-election is effectively asking for a second start on his economic plan. What should have been about achievement is now a promise.
In a new term as president, we will again build the greatest economy in history, quickly returning to full employment, soaring incomes, and record prosperity. We will defend America against all threats and protect America against all dangers. We will lead America into new frontiers of ambition and discovery, and we will reach for new heights of national achievement. We will rekindle new faith in our values, new pride in our history, and a new spirit of unity that can only be realized through love for our great country.
What a scene, hey? What a backdrop. At one stage, he just said, look, they hate that we're here at the White House. Trump also directly attacked Biden, of course, for being a lifetime career politician, for being deferential to China, for being led by the radical left, and for being weak on law and order. But perhaps his most devastating critique, his sharpest contrast, came in a very pithy phrase I think we're bound to hear time and again in coming weeks.
Joe Biden is weak.
It doesn't get much more straightforward than that. Trump seemed to run out of steam towards the end of his speech, but outside the White House, the reaction was predictable. There were demonstrations, protests and ongoing violent clashes with the police. And then, as the guests left, horrible abuse was meted out to any American who dared attend this speech by their president. And, of course, the left-wing media started pulling apart the president's speech.
Turning the White House into a sleazy political function is not what this country is all about. I honestly, my heart is broken. When I saw political banners stretched across the South Lawn of the White House, when I saw him coming out of the White House like a monarch at the beginning of his speech, am I angry? Yes, but I'm heartbroken.
Also, last but not least, the president said tonight, if for those of you who still drive, have you looked at your gasoline bill? Have you noticed how low it is? For those of us who do actually drive, you don't get a bill for your gasoline. It's not how it works. Nobody mails you a bill and says, here's what your gas. You pay for gas at a gas pump.
It really is that pathetic. We just never get this parsing in full of Democrat claims, do we? Although when you listen to this from Joe Biden, it sounds a little bit like he might be hoping to get away with just one presidential debate.
Look, I'm used to dealing with bullies. I understand how they work, and I'm going to go by the rules of the debate commission, play by the rules, and we're going to have a debate.
In the meantime, let's hope we can all be as calm and courageous in public debate as Republican Congressman Brian Mast. He lost both his legs in Afghanistan, serving his nation, and he said he made that sacrifice so that people could exercise their freedom, including the freedom to protest.
You're giving me double speak. You're not answering the question I'm asking. You're not a good enough politician to get away with that.
How do you feel about? Okay, so give me one. Nobody should be killed. I got a different question for you. I'm going to make my way through this. Thank you.
That is the way to do it. Much calm like that will be needed along this march to November.